feels good.
I just quit. And I just, yeah, exactly like that. It's placebo.
So thank you, FBI, feds, NSA, all of you for tuning in to Grim Year Wednesdays. It's run by Quiet Year Records, Grimalkin Records, and Rumblepak, and we're raising money for Virginia Anti-Violence Project, in particular, becoming a recurring donor. So we're going to talk to Ray from Baby Grill and Richmond Mutual Aid Distribution, aka Matt RVA, if you hear us saying that, and Pierce from Soul Glow. We're gonna kind of do like a focus on Ray section, focus on Pierce section. So it should be a fun time. There's a chat room if you have any questions or comments or like technical issues or anything like that. I'll try to keep up with links as well over there too. But first off, I'm gonna put virginiaavp.org/donate because we're all here now. So thank you for tuning into Grim Year Wednesdays. Hi Ray, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you, Judy?
I'm good. My entire Wednesdays is this, so it's pretty nice. I like don't do anything else. I'm like, this is my day.
Beautiful.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. I actually just got home. I think I was telling you this earlier. I just got home from telling all of my 8th graders goodbye and congratulations. We had this little like I guess I should say I'm an English teacher, an 8th grade English teacher at a middle school here. And since we can't have our like graduation ceremony, we did kind of like a drive-by like parade. So all the staff made little signs and stood outside and waved to all the kids and said goodbye to them. And the kids were hilarious. They were like sitting on top of their cars. Everybody was filming. And, we also got rained on pretty bad for a while. So I had to run home and change really quick because I was just drenched. But that was really beautiful. It was really nice to get to connect with them in person one last time. We haven't seen any of them since March 13th. So that was really great. Nice little pick me up before all this. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'd been teaching them like mostly online things, right? And keeping in touch that way with your students?
Yeah. So after March 13th, I mean, at first we thought we were only going to be out for 2 weeks. So we kind of, were able to prep our kids for it. Luckily, our district has, it's a one-to-one laptop situation for middle school and high school students. So all of my kids had access to technology and most of them had access to the internet. So we were conducting class online, posting assignments online, holding office hours online, doing a lot of just like well checks, calling kids to make sure everybody was okay. And so that's been a pretty huge, obviously a huge shift over the last couple of months. Big learning experience, a lot of grief with it too. Just knowing that a lot of our kids are really disconnected from their other important stable relationships with their friends, with adults in their lives. And so like for me, that's been the most important thing to keep up over the last couple of months, is just making sure that they stay connected to me, they stay connected to each other, and they still have this kind of semi-stable community to lean on.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that this next school year will probably have to have some adjustments as well.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. So there's a couple of different options on the table. It looks like we may end up doing some sort of wild hybrid thing where maybe half the kids are in school on one day, half the kids are in school the other day, and we stream class. So whoever's not actually able to be in the classroom will watch on their computers and still be able to do the same assignments. We haven't really heard exactly what it's going to look like, and it's so up in the air that at this point, no one really knows what's going to happen in the fall. I know Governor Northam was on the tube the other day talking about potentially getting everybody back in class. But we still have a whole summer to go through before then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Trying to prepare for the future is so difficult right now because we just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But then it does lead to inventive solutions. Mm-hmm. And inventive doesn't necessarily mean positive.
Yeah. As we have absolutely seen.
Yeah.
We're working on it though. Right now, I'm actually working with a team to rewrite our school district's English curriculum. So we're taking into account the fact that we might not actually be able to see our kids next year, at least traditionally. And it's also a really good opportunity to, tweak some of the methods that we've used, tweak a lot of the text that we've used. I've been able to make sure a lot of the stuff that we're putting out for kids to read is really inclusive. It encourages kids to have, important political and analytical conversations with each other, and with their teachers and, with their friends. So that's been a really cool opportunity. I don't think that work would have been, I don't think that work would have had as much like depth and dedication had we not had all of this time outside the classroom. I feel like the team that I'm on has been really able to focus on what kind of an ideal world for our English students would look like next year, rather than just like whatever we can scrape together in the chaos. So that's, the silver lining to the cloud of losing all those relationships is we're trying to figure out ways that we can make sure kids are building them really strongly next year, and making sure that they're getting like the most robust education that they can when we get back.
Definitely. Wow, that's really cool. I think we all have this idea of like, we want better education for our youth, but then what that actually looks like, that's I feel like such an unknown still. And so hearing you talk about how that's actually crafted and the kinds of ideas that go behind that, I think that's really, really cool. And that's gonna impact people for years. That's how you change the future,
Yeah, it's a really, really exciting opportunity. And I've also had the chance to be part of the leadership team at my school. We have a lot of change, obviously, that's going to be happening over the next couple of months. But we have a really amazing opportunity to create something that truly, promotes equity for all of our kids, whether that's, having like inclusive text choices, or whether that's making sure that all of our teachers actually know how to teach literacy skills. For me, the reason that I do this work is because I think that literacy is the most empowering skill set a person can have. I think that, being able to read well and write well and communicate well leads to people being able to know themselves better, to be able to know and understand other people better. It's, a door to personal power, and it's a door to collective power. And so, having the time now to figure out how we can best create an education for the kids, at least at my campus and in our district, that helps them to self-actualize, instead of just like, a lot of what I've seen in the past is just kind of handing teachers like, here's a list of strategies you can use, and here's a bunch of like completely disconnected text that has nothing to do with your kids and is totally like apolitical, and doesn't really have anything to do with the lives that our kids are living every single day outside of our four walls. Now we're actually able to bring in our students, bring in their voices a lot more effectively. And I'm really excited for the opportunity that that's going to hold for our classroom communities and our campus community next year. It's going to be awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It warms my heart to think that these are like tangible changes that are happening. And I think something that I've noticed about you is you definitely have a mindset of mutual aid in sort of everything that you do. So I guess I feel like you would be able to answer this with eloquence. Is what is mutual aid? What does that mean to you?
So the foundation of mutual aid is community helping community, people helping each other, either individuals or groups of people recognizing a need and understanding that really, the state's not coming to save us. We are all we have, and we are all we really need. And so there are tons of different ways that people show up for each other through mutual aid. Right now, I'm working with the Richmond Mutual Aid Disaster Relief Collective. And that effort started a few years ago during a really serious cold snap that we had here in Richmond. And what ended up happening was that instead of the city coming to houseless folks' aid and making sure that they had access to shelter and resources, our mayor, LeVar Stoney, decided to close all of the emergency shelters that were available to people. So there's an autonomous group of folks who came together to make sure that folks had supplies like, warm clothing, hot hands, food, whatever the need was. And instead of just assuming that we, you know, knew what other people wanted and knew what other people needed. The effort is really focused on maintaining people's dignity and maintaining, you know, this like really fluid relationship between that community and the folks who came to serve that need. And so just paying attention to what needs were being presented and figuring out how we could pool collective resources to address those. And so really it's about, like, I mean, the phrase that you'll hear a lot in mutual aid is solidarity, not charity. It's not about us saving each other or, you know, creating like a divide between like a service provider and a client or something like that. You know, it's not, there's no sort of like clinical language around it like that. It's just understanding that we have an obligation to help each other, and we have an obligation to share resources whenever and however we can. And that's how we build communities of care. That's how we build resilience as a community, is making sure that, you know, every person is able to find a niche, find a place where their skills are best utilized in order to build collective capacity.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is really beautiful. I mean, both your explanation of that and the concept itself, I think, is just really empowering. But at the same time, it makes people feel connected, and that's something that's so necessary. I mean, I was going to say right now, but I feel like at any given moment in time, feeling those kinds of connections is so crucial to the human experience.
Yeah.
So being
definitely.
so deliberate about those things, that's really, really admirable. And I'm glad that you brought up that this work has been happening for years, because there have always been needs. There have always been people experiencing suffering, and like collective organizing for these things have happened for so long, and people have put a lot of thought and work into it so far. I recognize that now with a lot of things happening out on the streets, I think a lot of like the urgency of these needs has been a lot more emphasized, a lot more boosted, because there is just that attention on that. How do you feel like, do you feel like that's affected your work with MAD-RVA? I guess over in like, I want to say like the past week or so? I feel like it's when things really kind of popped off.
I mean, it's kind of tough for me to speak to that. Really, I mean, like my primary project is supporting kids and teachers right now.
Yeah.
So for me, like the last couple of weeks, I've been really focused on, you know, my job, and really, really focused on how I can be a support person and be a carer for the folks who are on the ground. But what I have seen, I mean, fundraising has been pretty consistent. We've seen a lot of generosity from the city over the last couple of months. Really, I mean, I started working with MAD-RVA in March, like early March, when COVID-19 really hit and we ended up being under quarantine. Even from jump, we had people donating supplies, making cash donations to make sure that we could get all the supplies that we needed to serve folks. But the last couple of weeks, especially after partnering with like the Richmond Community Bail Fund, building partnerships with Richmond Rent Strike, the Richmond Tenants Union, the Jackson Ward Youth Peace Team, just getting a lot more, I don't know, like, I don't want to say press, what am I trying to say? There has been a lot of that.
Like networking maybe?
Yeah. A lot more networking, a lot more sort of visibility through those community partnerships. We have seen a pretty big influx in cash flow, and that's what's really made our mini grants program possible. So I could talk a little bit about
Yes,
that.
please.
Yeah. So the mini grants program started as this idea that, you know, we wanted to not just provide in kind, like material assistance to folks, but to make sure that people had cash in hand to get whatever it was they needed. So, you know, again, going back to like making sure there's like dignity and trust and a low barrier to access to resources, whatever people need them for. So it started out as, you know, okay, let's see if we can get together $80 donations or $80 grants for folks, whoever needs it. That number ended up going up to $125 mini grants. And, you know, the bar for accessing services is a Google form. You fill in the Google form, we do collect demographic information to make sure that we are prioritizing people of color, specifically Black people, to make sure that, you know, we're aligned with as pro-Black a politic as we can be. So at this point, we've been able to serve 235 families, to get folks $125 to help them out. And what we've heard back is just, you know, folks being super grateful, being able to push that money toward rent, toward necessities, toward whatever it is they need to keep their families afloat. And that work is continuing due to the generosity of folks donating to the Richmond Mutual Aid Disaster Relief Collective.
Yeah, that's really wonderful that y'all started off with this idea about how to make tangible change happen, how to provide autonomy and empowerment without being like patronizing. I feel like it would be a word for that. And so like, I would say like there's a lot of people right now who are like, what do I do to help? What do I do? And something that I appreciate about what you're talking about is putting out those requests of like, what do you need? Just tell us what you need and we'll do it.
Yeah. And so like to speak to, you know, the really collective kind of like the world is burning, what do we do sentiment. Mutual aid is for everyone. Mutual aid is for anyone. You know, the folks that we have on the team have such varied skill sets. We have, you know, organizers, teachers, tattooers, land workers, herbalists, app developers. And, you know, the roles that we have are anything from answering phone calls to driving deliveries to sorting things, packing things, to working more on kind of like the back end, the technical end, and developing an app, like managing the mini grants program. There are opportunities for everybody, no matter what your skill set is, to contribute in some way through mutual aid. And right now, what I've started doing the last couple of weeks, even outside of that, it's just, I love cooking and I'm pretty good at it. And, yeah! Thank you for the plug.
Tell us about your meal program.
So I just, you know, knowing that my time right now is kind of limited. So that's the vegan tofu banh mi and just like mangoes and strawberries we put out today. Knowing that my time is kind of limited and knowing that like I know what my capacity is right now. So I just wanted to, I know that people under stress forget to eat. I know that people forget to eat well when we're going through, you know, just collective trauma like this. And I know one of the things that just really like one of the primary ways that I show love is to cook for people, is to make sure that the people I love are nourished. And I also very much acknowledge the amount of joy that folks get from good food. And that's what keeps folks going. You know, you can't be like out in these streets or organizing or constantly working without some sort of you know, soul nourishing, empowering, motivating food. You gotta have it. So just a couple of weeks ago, I posted something on Instagram calling for anybody who needed a good meal to just DM me and let me know. Prioritizing queer and trans, Black and Indigenous people of color. And the first week was 15. And last weekend, I think I fed 25 people. And then today was about 30. So it's growing, which is really exciting. And through this, like, again, you know, mutual aid is for everybody. I have had folks offering to like donate funds to make sure that I can source produce and source materials. I've had a couple of farms donating produce to make this possible. It's really a community effort. I couldn't do it by myself. And it looks like there's a potential for it to end up expanding. We have the potential to have some commercial kitchen usage coming soon. And just more and more folks trying to get on this meal train wagon. That's just been super fulfilling and really rewarding to know that the people that I love and the people that are just doing this work with their whole hearts are not just like getting recognized for it, but are able to continue with, you know, some small contribution from me.
Definitely. I personally think that your food should be used as an antidepressant. If someone's feeling bad, they eat some of your food, and then, you know, see where you're feeling from there. Drink a little water, and then it's like, wow, I feel like a human again.
Yeah, I've heard that. And that's just, I mean, that, like, hearing things like that, and, you know, even when I don't get feedback, like, it's not about that, but it's just so affirming. You know, for a while, especially after the shutdown, after schools closed, after, you know, so much of my life shifted overnight, after we stopped being able to play shows, there was, oh God, after I couldn't go to the gym, I just had such like a dip in my sense of self-efficacy, right? And so, you know, working with the collective and then doing this on my own, and really kind of starting to like move and shake within like my school community a little bit more, has been personally just so life-giving. So I'm just really, really grateful to have the opportunity to work alongside folks who, you know, believe in the same things and want to see a really similar world, and understand that, you know, small steps like handing someone a meal, and making those connections is how we're going to get there.
That's so beautiful.
Thanks.
And I'm definitely grateful for you being able to be someone who just embodies those values, and throughout the work that you do. I mean, I'm noticing that you went from a really long-term, I guess, view of how to change the future and how to build just a better society, and then going down to like the everyday level, down to the just one meal to get you through the evening. That's such a big deal, and that's really, really inspiring. So I just want to say thank you. And for everybody who's watching, I just want to give a plug to, actually, could you tell us where to donate to help with your different organizings?
Yeah, so I mean, I think first and foremost, I personally, well, let's say the Richmond Mutual Aid Disaster Relief Collective first. Find them at mad_RVA on Instagram, and there are links there to find more information about it, to find more information about our politic and how to contact us. And there's also a huge bank of resources if you want to get started doing organized mutual aid work in your city. They're the first place that I would go to. Also, if you know you have a couple extra bucks sitting around, Richmond Community Bail Fund has been bailing people out for years now, and is working on, or not even is working on, has a dedicated legal team that folks can turn to as well. And they're always looking for funds. Another organization I want to call out right now is the River City Medic Collective. Keeping people safe in the streets and keeping people trained up to keep each other safe, even when shit's not popping off. They're really, really important. And if you want to help me out, I can drop my Venmo. It's at Most Human Light. I just want to keep feeding you.
I'm just gonna go ahead and add that teachers also don't get paid enough.
Oh, ooh, you telling me?
I mean, we don't have to talk about it, but I just want to put that out there as a well-known fact.
Knowledge, yeah. I was reading something a while ago where like teachers were calculating our hourly wage. It is paltry. But yeah, check those orgs out. Get yourself trained up. Get yourself educated. Figure out what your strengths are, what your skills are, and you know, do what you can to offer them to people in your community. It makes a difference.
Thank you so much for being on Grim Year Wednesdays with us, sharing your knowledge. I personally think that every time I talk to you, even if it's about something really heavy or sad, that I feel like you are the most human light.
Thank you so much, Judy. Thank you for asking me to come on here and yak with y'all. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna post the links and expanded like payment information and things afterwards, but in the chat room you can see the names of the places that Ray described that could use a lot of help and do a lot of really great work all the time. So I'm gonna start playing a little something else. Could it be Soul Glow? It's Soul Glow, isn't it? Oh, it's Soul Glow. Hi Pierce, how are you?
I'm cool. I was just like laying down listening to y'all talk on like with everything else on me. I had my weight blanket on me. I was just so cool. It's quite a nice experience.
That sounds like a nice time.
Yeah, I feel very calm right now. How are y'all?
I'm good.
Cool.
Didn't you just hear our previous conversation? We're great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but you know,
Yeah.
I guess it's also a courtesy to
Yeah.
reciprocate, but
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear about your weighted blanket though. I hear those are also another antidepressant.
Yeah, they're underrated. I like honestly, my favorite thing about a weighted blanket though is that there's always a cold side, like a pillow. So whenever it's too hot, you flip that junk.
Your brain. Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, what have you been up to lately? And I'm gonna go ahead and say that Ray can also interject if you want. Do you want me to take you off mute?
Oh no, I didn't want to cackle and interrupt everybody.
Oh. Yeah.
Yo, what's up, Angel?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god, your laugh is like medicine.
Oh my god, I miss you.
Yo, I miss you too. Oh my god, I miss all y'all. Everybody in this room, like world right now who I've never even met. I miss you. I love you. I hope we meet. Come on. Let me out of the house. I'm sorry, there's gonna be a lot of yelling. This is side B, baby. The last thing was calm and
Yo.
This is gonna be energizing and important. Nah, but I've been good. I've been working. That's really it. It's been working in all capacities. I just try to wake up every day and be like, look, you can't do anything else besides work and go home and go to sleep. I don't even like television. There's like so many shows that I love, but I've just been feel so unaffected lately by TV, and like I sometimes watch it if I want to, but what I really want is to just listen to music. I just want to listen to everybody's music. I want to hear all the music ever made. Like every day, because I'm getting ready, listen to wash my face, I get ready for work, biking for work. I'm a bike courier. I deliver people's essentials, the food, and the herbal remedy. So government. So it's just that day in and day out, just biking. Like Philly's not that big, so it's really it's not very hard to get from one end to the other. But I try to stay in my little region plus the southern part. But yeah, that's really just it. It's just work. And the band we probably have a little practice space, and it's like my contact is limited to like them and like other person, and just like that's it. Just working. Little tiny cloud of people around me. Just thinking about it's like weird because I feel like a lot of people have to think about their plans. Like, oh, in a couple months, I have this next thing to look forward to. But now it's like 2021.
Yeah.
This is when your next plan will maybe.
Oh shit.
Yo, I love the audio of everybody.
Angel, I'm so glad you're here.
Yo, for real.
Love you. Also, the work that you've been doing is so amazing. Just thank you. I don't want to take up time, but yeah.
Thank you.
Agreed. The first thing that I thought about at the beginning of y'all's conversation was something that this woman, she's an attorney in Philadelphia, and she's also part of the Black Quantum Futurism Project. Her name is Rashida Phillips, and she was saying, she just posted this tweet that's like one thing that I deeply felt, and it's just one thing that since no one has said, which is like the youth in Philadelphia have been consistently shown that nobody is looking out for them, and nobody has their best interests in mind. All of the arts funding has been cut. There's no job. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no after school programs. What are they supposed to do? What is anybody supposed to do? And yet you want to demonize people who are in survival mode. It's just like you take away every available resource and put it into one segment of, like, you know, your so-called community. And I don't know, just thinking about your work in the future. Seeing the connection.
What? What's the last thing you said?
So I've been seeing the connections, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting because Ray and I are in Richmond. Pierce is in Philly. I feel like there's a lot of connections between cities, but when it comes to the individual and specific community needs, it's gonna be. Sorry, what was that?
No, it's just like the sound dipped out and I couldn't tell. I was like, I'm sorry.
That's fine. I think it's my internet connection, but.
I was just gonna ask, do you have the feeling ever sometimes that, like, pretty much all of the major cities of the country are pretty much going through the same thing, just like little slight cultural differences that highlight the overall experience of what it's like to live there? It seems like, you know, a coordinated plan, or is that just me?
Just you.
Okay, cool.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I think it is very much a coordinated plan. You know, I mean, we know that capitalism isn't built for people like us. We know that, you know, the way that city budgets tend to be allocated do not prioritize people like us. I started my teaching career in Philadelphia public schools when I was there a few years ago. And I mean, we talk about inequity in Richmond, but it is nothing compared to the monster that you encounter in Philadelphia public schools. I mean, shit is fucked in both spots. And, you know, it does.
Charter schools.
Woo, yeah, luckily
The Montessori's.
That beast doesn't exist in the same way in the same way in Richmond as it does in Philadelphia. But that's a whole other shit show.
Niggas trying to make Philly New York Junior so bad.
That's been the line like, forever.
I'm bored. I'm fucking bored. I moved to Philly because it had its own you know, culture.
Yeah.
And like sense of being. And it really still does, honestly, even more defiantly so now. But it's like, fuck, man, leave niggas alone. Just let people live. God damn. But, yo, no, that shit is real, like.
And it is hard, like oh, go ahead.
No, you first.
I was gonna say, and it is hard, like, you know, speaking to what youth go through, especially in Philadelphia, even here too. But, I mean, I remember working with kids that, like, you know, when you don't think that there is anything for you outside of your, you know, your neighborhood or like your friend group or the people that you like associate with. I remember the first group of kids in Philly that I tried to talk to, like, really openly about their experiences with racism, one of the first comments they said was, I've never experienced racism. Like, my whole neighborhood's Black. And I was like, friend, like, look around you, you know? But it's like having that sort of insular, and it's very intentional. It's very intentional to keep, you know, Black children, Black people relegated to the sidelines, relegated to, you know, like not having opportunity, not having the chance to be exposed to things beyond what like white capitalist society wants them to see. Like, as long as kids are stuck there, that is when the capitalist lie that no one cares about you, when no one is there for you, continues to live on and it gains speed, right? But I think, you know, there are some really incredible youth projects in Philly too. There are, you know, really incredible youth projects all over, but it's like there's so few and far between. And especially in like somewhere as sprawling as Philadelphia, it's tough for kids to end up coming in contact with that stuff, you know, or to even be able to like believe in the fact that they have an alternative. I hear you.
So I'm gonna try to work backwards through everything that you just said, because goddamn, I'm like God, you really said it. Like, especially with like the youth programs, like yeah, there are really good youth programs really between IDA, the YASP, the Youth Arts Empowerment. Yeah, them niggas like.
Yep.
I should speak officially about them. YASP, they've worked closely with an organization that I have volunteered with. There we go. With an organization that I have volunteered with called Beyond the Bars. A lot of people get it messed up between the bars, behind the bars, and beyond. And doing nothing with the bars.
We don't want to be behind the bars.
You know what I'm saying? What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell? But yeah, with an organization that I work with, and it's like, you know, essentially it's just trying to do the most tangible outreach through, like, you know, art. So it's like for Beyond the Bars, it's volunteer musicians, like literally just sitting down with kids and being like, yo, we have these instruments here, just touch them and we'll go from there. Like that's like largely how we start.
Really?
Well, when I started off, I was working in juvenile detention center, which was inside of a larger facility that had adults and both male and female. Excuse me, like, you know, in different wings and shit. And then I like moved to another jail, and I started doing an after-school program with like kids who both had an interest in music and then also had incarcerated like family members. And there were kids who else. Then we did programs with kids who were formerly incarcerated. That's when we worked with IDA. And it was like, it was just, you know, obviously just meeting like a lot of, you know, young individual people who have affected me and like my mind and like the way that I look at things. But it's like also just realizing that it's like that, like these after school programs are, like you said, very, very few and far between, and have like immense potential in the very short times that they're allowed to exist, because it's usually a very, very short.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like Philly just got really hit. Like gentrification doesn't just happen in terms of like apartment buildings and like places where you used to live now becoming more expensive, and now people who like, you know, used to go to high school now live there. It's like, no, it's also like they're raising their kids there, and their kids are not gonna go to school with kids who look like you, and they don't have to pay to do that, and they will pay actually not to do that. So it's like Philly is crazy, but again, like I just feel like I just hear this story so much, and I see it play out so much. It's like a very like common conversation, like in terms of all the major cities in the country. I'm like, yo, this shit feels fucking coordinated. You know what I'm saying? And then like we just really, I feel like every year, I feel like, what did they say? 2016 was the year of realizing things. Like we've been peeling it back like the whole, like the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like fucking Pusha T's, they peeling it back layer by layer. Like, and it's like you're like the connections between all of this shit is really, it's not hard to understand.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's really thinly veiled. It's more just like once you see, oh, what the fuck you gonna do about it? Like that's really the front that is. That's the real wall that is hard to punch through. Like like just being able to see through all of the lies that protected, like that shit is easy. And like, you know, we've just seen in like a damn week, white people just went through 30 years of racism training. Like, we, you know what I'm saying? White people just went from 1980 to now, and like, and like, so it doesn't take that. It's not that hard to figure out. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I have to say to all of you.
So on that that kind of like, what are you gonna do about it? To like, one of the things I've been talking about with people lately has been the fact that like so much of I think the uprising that we've seen recently comes from the fact that like the level of risk in a response to that question, what are you going to do about it, is now like the bar is so much lower now for people, because like people already don't have jobs, people already can't pay their rent, people already don't have like, you know, stable housing, a stable income, stable communities, a stable timeline for their futures. So I guess like I'm just curious, you know, what kind of the energy has been like on the ground there in response to that, like, okay, so what are we going to do about it?
Well, I feel like, you know, Philadelphia is mainly motivated by the fact that like the main racial component of Philadelphia is that it's very fucking segregated.
Yeah.
Like it's like, to me it's like Baltimore. It's just a little bit more gradual. Whereas Baltimore, it's like you step over a crack in the sidewalk and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
Like you go
Philly be like that too though.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, because it's like, yeah, you get to the end of a certain neighborhood, you step over a crack in the sidewalk, and you're like, oh, I see what you did. Yeah, but in Baltimore, they just be like, ha ha, fuck you. It's like right with the end of the street, you know what I mean? So it's like Philly is really, I feel like people want to reduce Philly a lot in terms of like how we look at this shit, because like, I mean, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I feel like a city's cultural identity is really painted through like pop culture. So it's like what cities do we know the most about? LA and New York, obviously. And they're kind of like, you know, minor cities like Chicago, now kind of keeping popping up. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Oakland, maybe Miami, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But even still, Philly, you know, Philly in that group. Philly is like C. It's C-list. So it's like people look at people. I don't know. Philly is used to like being in people's shadow, and that really gets into people's psyches like a lot, like in like ways I feel like that people don't even really acknowledge, like that come out very largely, because it's like people in Philly really be peeping shit, like the way the police are in this city is mad discreet until they just don't give a shit. Like really, like the last well publicized police murder in Philadelphia was Brandon Tate Brown in 2016. So that's like, to me, it's like that wasn't the only, like, you mean to tell me that was the only black person who was killed by police in Philadelphia? Like, nah, like come on. But it's like they're mad discreet about that shit. It's like Philadelphia is really known in terms, when you think about the whole police brutality conversation, Philadelphia is one thing that move on. And it's like, other than that, it's like, I don't know, you don't really hear about shit really popping off. But then protests popped off, Philly was right up in there. Because people know what the fuck happens up there. You know, people know what the fuck life is like living in Philadelphia. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's just the way people's anger, I guess, is seated in Philadelphia, to me is just different. But maybe that's just because I live here. I could just this could just be a whole bias argument.
Well, I mean,
Like,
you do actually have the perspective of being someone who has traveled around the country. I mean, whether that's just for a night or repeatedly, like for example, like if you play a show in a city like once a year, you develop that relationship. But that's still different than your relationship from Philly, like because you're there all the time, or I guess a majority of the year when you're not touring or working, or I guess
well,
touring.
yeah. Well, I'll say one thing that this is like because with that it's like yeah, but in terms of what I'm like, I feel like what I'm about to say is like the only real argument or the only real thing I can contribute at some value is like I was in Oakland on the day of the Pulse shooting,
Mm,
and so it's like I feel like I can only really know how a city is in a time of crisis when it's reacting in real time. You know what I'm saying? So when that happened, I don't know where I was. It wasn't popping off, and I don't know exactly like the way like um, economic demographics are like set up in Oakland that well. Yeah, because I know San Francisco is like right across the way, and it's like, but it's like I feel like it's just like where I was. Oh, it wasn't like you know where I live at. You know, there's trash on the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't no trash on the sidewalk. I'll put it like that.
yeah.
So like, but there was a memorial for something else. I want to say maybe it was like Vietnam War or something like that. I'm really not sure, but there was a memorial there, and a lot of people had like lit candles, and like it was like the circuit, the structure of it was circular. People had like lit candles around there, and there was just people standing there and just talking, and that was it. And there were no police around,
Hmm.
and I feel like that in itself is just some very irregular shit. Because
Hmm.
I know there'd be like mad Nazis in California and shit, but like I don't know, just to be just in that moment and like knowing that people were mad as fuck, and there was like a good amount of people, like different kinds of people there. You know? It wasn't just
Hmm.
like the punks who would come from outside the show. So it's just like I don't know. I just say all that to say like I don't really know, but I do know what it was like at that in that city at that time, and it wasn't like say Philly the first day of the protest or any other day that week, like last week, and it wasn't like uh what's that shit? I had another example, but it's escaped
Yeah. I mean,
No, thanks
like,
for saying that.
to your point about, having a biased perspective, first off, like, I, the city you live in, right? And
right.
I think, especially like being a Black person in Philadelphia, like that is a completely valid and authoritative perspective to have. So I don't want to like, I don't think you need to like qualify that or discount that or whatever. Like what you know is what you know, and that's real. Um, and then like another thing I've been thinking about that speaks to what you said about, the reaction to the Pulse shooting and like really the way that people choose or choose not to turn up for other people
Uh huh.
has been on my mind a lot, right? Like we're seeing, I think context, I think the specific moment in time that we're in with the fact that we've been, on lockdown and under quarantine for a couple of months, I think that that's really spurring a lot of what we're seeing right now. But, it, there's a lot of other like fucked up shit that happens in the world that people do not hit the streets for, like I don't know, I've been thinking about like when everybody this is horrifying, but when everybody found out that like indigenous Uyghurs were being put into and still are being put into essentially concentration camps in China, it was like, oh, yikes, oh, that stinks. Like, you want to go to brunch, I mean, like, for real, like shit like that happens all over the world all the time. Even, I mean, even like much more extensively, widely publicized human rights issues. Um, it's
Like
just
abuses at the border of Texas.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and there was, I feel like a few years ago, a much bigger kind of explosion in visible action in support of immigrants and in direct opposition to ICE, right? A couple of years ago, I feel like 2016 to 2018, people were really popping off, but that shit's still happening, you know? Um,
Happening worse than ever.
yeah, yeah. I don't have an answer for it, but it's
Yeah.
been something, you know, something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Like how do we choose who we show up for, and how we show up for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Like
I
I'm
think something.
glad.
Yeah, no, no,
Like,
no, no. Something that you brought up earlier, you literally said earlier, is just like, what are you good at? Like, what do you do? How can you
Mhm.
use that in a way to serve your community? And while that does start on an individual level, like that is doing something.
Yeah.
So again, with the whole people being like, so what are we gonna do about it? And I'm
Right.
like,
I also just want to say that that's a much better way of looking at it than like the immediately centering yourself version, which is like, um, I like who do I show up for first? I don't know, how
Right.
do I decide? And it's like in trying to in trying to look at it like that and trying to rank human life, honestly, what you're still doing is like prioritizing like your own
Yeah.
like you struggle with your own viewpoint of the world. And it's like you could simplify that entire process by just being like, instead of trying to think about what I believe so much in this situation, I could just choose to believe that what I need to do is help people who I believe are vulnerable and hurting. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not really. I'm just
I mean, you're Pierce. I feel like you're someone with a platform and has a lot of interesting things to say, but the way that these things are received, like you're saying, is just like, what do you personally believe? What are you personally gonna do in
Mhm.
response to X, Y, and Z? How are you gonna pick what you care about? And the fact that you have a way to reach a big audience and say, you really should care about this. You should prioritize this. I think that's a really powerful thing.
Mhm.
Do you feel like, how do you, I don't know if this is an awkward question, but how does it feel to be someone with that large of a platform, also being a band that's known for being Black and like unapologetic about it?
Mhm.
How has that been in the light of all of the racial tensions and the rebellions going on now?
there's a number of different ways that it works out. When it comes to the platform thing, I try to stay. This might not be the best sounding answer, but I try to stay very emotionally detached from it. I really just look at like what something like a social media app is good for if you have a lot of followers. And in my mind, it's like if I'm a person who doesn't have a lot of political science training, who doesn't have a lot of social organizing training, that shit is good for sharing information. And so you have to be like good at discerning what you're reading and like thinking about who it's going to reach and who in your audience, you know, is sharing this information with and to what end. And aside from like other personal actions like protesting and having individual conversations, I feel like like it's the same thing with like asking yourself what you are able to do and like what is realistic with what you have going on. And it's like social media is like it is a tool. It is like the most valuable tool, having the ability to disseminate information and having like a larger footprint in like the stream of the algorithm, or having like a larger like I don't know, have being able to move through the I like one fish through a bunch of other fish, just like moving through the shit. It's like having that ability to do that is like, what are you going to carry? What are you going to carry in your trail? aside from that, what were the other parts of the question?
I don't know. I have a tendency to ask like 5 questions at once and hope that the other
Yeah,
person.
and I try to stay with it. I try to stay with it.
I don't know anymore.
That's how you sharpen your skills as an active listener, people.
I can interject. I believe the question was, how does it feel to have such a big
how does it feel? Oh
platform
my
in
God.
this moment?
You didn't even ask me what I was doing. You asked me how it felt. God, it feels like something that I need to. It feels. It feels like pressure. It feels like the need to rationalize and like your surroundings and your choices as a person that have led you to this moment where you have this power. Like it feels like a lot of introspection. Feels like a lot of introspection, really, especially with also, like I feel like a lot of people have been talking about the this like phenomenon of like, well, okay, first of all, I'm sorry, I don't know who is black besides it's like the whole phenomenon of like being black and making shit and then having people now be like, oh my God, hey, guess what? Did you know that we want to work with you? And did you know that we love your voice and we've been watching you for X amount of time, which is the best.
Yeah.
like when they said that, when you show yourself, you told me you waited this long to hit me up.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you tell me that? Oh my God. Yeah, it's like shit like that. People asking you all this like disingenuous shit about how ultimately it amounts to how you can help them cope with the fact that they are now acknowledging on a really tangible scale in a racist society. And there is never a price tag attached. No one ever wants to give me any money for this work.
Right.
People have these creative ass ideas. You spend so much time thinking about how you can ask these questions, and somehow it's never enough. You spend all of this time figuring out the scenario in which my voice can be powerful in this situation. And I'm like, nigga, in all of this thought, this introspection.
Mm-hmm.
You never thought about how I wouldn't want to do this for free.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that there's not enough like backing of words, I guess, where people want to support Black artists without actually acknowledging what it means to be Black and what it means to be a Black artist. And there's a difference.
I don't have a family who is really into music. There's no stockpile of gear that my dad has.
Right.
You know what my dad's hobby was? His job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what my mom's hobby was? Her job and being in the Air Force.
Oh my God, that just reminded me of like my grandpa telling me all about the air conditioning units he installed at people's houses, and that was like the most interesting thing he had to talk about because he was a working class person. Like,
I am first generation hobbyist in my family, and I have no choice but to turn it into a career.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
Fuck with the fact that I just like music and really would actually like to live in a world without money. That's some shit that my grandchildren can maybe dream about. Like, don't get ahead of yourself. Fuck out of here.
Alrighty. Well, it's 8:35, so I'm gonna ask one more question. Ray, you're the one who said you.
I know, but I'm having so much fun.
I know, which is why I'm like, we can keep going. I just don't want to get in the way of the other things that you have to do.
One more, and then I gotta go work on, teaching the children.
Yeah, changing the future. Pierce, what is something that you're like looking forward to, or something that you would like to see in the future?
Something that I like to see in the future, like regardless of son of a
Like in
gun.
general, for the just
Of
general future.
all, like just regardless of like reality is not a thing.
Sure. I'm scared. Sure.
Hey, we are in the middle of building a new reality, so friend, dream away.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this, right? Hold on a second, I gotta plug these in because they're not.
You know who Baba Vanga is, right? 'Cause you talked to Gigi about this shit, right? Let me see you in the comments real quick. Hey, yes, okay. So you gotta think about Baba Vanga, who is like basically this I want to say Russian, but we'll go with Eastern European mystic, who basically could see the future and was kind of like on some like Nostradamus shit, like she was prophesizing a lot. Very interesting to look up on Wikipedia if you want to get high and just like go spend about an hour. Yes, exactly, an hour on the internet. So one thing she predicted was that I don't know if she said it was in 2020 or that the 45th president, but she said one of those things. In that year or that president would be the last president. And she also predicted that there would be attempts made on the lives of the president of the United States and the Russian president.
Let's go!
From people who are yo, I'm also realizing I'm hearing this without audio, and it's so funny. Oh shit. All right. But so yeah, basically she predicted that, right? So fuck, I'm sorry, keep me on track. What was the question?
What are you looking forward to?
Oh God, I can't hear anybody. God damn it, hold on.
What are you looking forward to or want to see?
What was that?
What are you looking forward to or want to see in the future?
Oh, right, what I want to see in the future. Okay, so
So no more president.
Right.
President of America, Russia. Yeah.
Right. She was talking about that, right? So I was thinking about that. Like, damn, that would be crazy. Because it's like, I don't know. I'm not really even sure what is governing the world right now. There are so many crazy powers that have no oversight at all. Like the Fed, like the Russian government, like the United States government. Like, those three organizations right there have pretty much no oversight. There's no one really checking them at all. Aside from maybe aliens. I don't know. So basically, like, I'm thinking, like, if Baba Vanga is right and that shit go down, I'm like, what's gonna happen? Something happened in Russia. I don't know what the politics are like. Boom. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. But United States, you know what I'm saying? Shit. You know what I mean? So United States, like, boom, Donald Trump dies. Mike Pence is president. That sucks. So I'm like, something's got to happen also to Mike Pence. You know what I mean? We got to get all them niggas out of there. Preferably, I guess before the next election. But it's like, are elections even going to matter? Like, what I also would like to see, if that's one reality, right? Can I have more than one option?
Yeah.
All right, so that's one. Also, Fez, what's up? I don't give a fuck. Kill me if you want. I really don't give a shit. Number two, Fez. Not the Feds. Number two, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Okay. Number two.
Thank you, Colby.
The violence of like just this country, I would really like to see that end. You know what I'm saying? It would be cool if like just a little bit more, like if like the tides of justice were like cosmically turned in the favor of the left, because I just feel like right now it's just clear that the right has been militarizing all through the 20th century, even down to the local private citizen level. And it's like the left hasn't been doing that. Niggas been seeing Kumbaya going to fucking Grateful Dead concerts and shit. You know what I'm saying? Niggas been making brunch and shit. Niggas not prepared. Niggas don't know how to fight. Niggas don't know how to like live in the fucking woods and shit. That's real. Now people be going on hikes and shit, with like in like the Sonoma Valley and Yellow. So it's like that's what I like to see. I like to see the left militarized. I would also in the third reality, I would just really like to see just a global disarmament somehow. That would be fire. Like I hate guns. You know what I mean? I really hate just like weapons and violence in general. But like low key also, if there's gonna be violence, you know, I'm trying to meet them Fishtown niggas on their own terms. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. The niggas in Fishtown, like down the block from me. You know what I'm saying? I live at Girard and Broad. These niggas at Girard in front. It's 13 blocks in between that shit. All these white niggas with bats and shit, backing up by 26 precinct, talking about if you want to come up here with this Black Lives Matter bullshit, talking about all these other homophobes that I'm about to say on here in good, decent company. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, look, y'all want to act like you're having a fair one when you have the fucking police who are letting you out here past curfew right around the corner. You act like you want to have a fair one right now. It's like, no, fuck that. Leave me on a regular day. Or come up with all your little homeboys into my front yard. One or the other, because I gotta go to that area to work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be on no bullshit out there. Especially with a bunch of niggas that got the precinct. Fuck 26, by the way. Fuck the 26 precinct. And fuck everybody in Fishtown who was out there with them bats. Fuck all y'all. Talk about we protecting our neighborhood. Fuck you. This isn't even your fucking land, you pieces of shit. Eyes, ears below your fucking eyes, motherfuckers. Anyway. So I'd like to see a global disarmament. That would be cool. I'd like to see just like, I'd like to see it go back down to hand. Y'all ever?
Wait, I can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
On MTV, you can't hear me no more?
No,
wait, now I can.
Perfect. This is perfect.
Don't move. Okay. Okay, thank you. Piers?
Yeah, I can kind of hear y'all. I don't know how.
That's so interesting because I hear you way better now.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, well, y'all ever watch that show Bully Beatdown on MTV? All right, so Bully Beatdown was this show. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Yo, yeah, that's right. Whoever said yo, that's right. We in this motherfucker. Bully Beatdown, what's up? What's up? Right between Room Raiders and Mets. What's up? All right. All right. Yo, all right. Next up Star, you know what I'm saying? Next up Robin Big. We out. You know what I'm saying? We out. Our 20s in here. No, I'm saying like, so there was a show called Bully Beatdown, which was basically like these people who were being victimized by a bully would take it to the show and be like, yo, this motherfucker is like messing with me, and here's how, and here's all the things that they do to me, and da-da-da. And then there's the host of the show, who is an MMA fighter, who has a bunch of MMA fighter friends, is like, okay, we're going to set your bully up with my friend here and put them in the ring, and we're going to give them $5,000. And for every round that they lose $1,000. And that's the show. And every episode, they get their ass beat.
Wait, the bullies get their ass beat or the other person?
And the money goes to the victim in each episode. That shit lasted one season, and I'm like, why? That shit should be all right now. That shit should have. Why the fuck is The Simpsons on telling us the future when Bully Beatdown could have been on here giving us real restorative justice? At the end of every episode, niggas was like, man, I really want to kick you in the chest. And then that guy kicked me in the chest. I didn't like that. I don't want to do that to you no more. I'm sorry. And I'm like, yo. So I say all of that to say, this is my final reality that I would like to see in the future, which is I would like to see a global disarmament and everything is just like Bully Beatdown. You just have the biggest niggas fighting each other. War would look a whole lot different, I'll tell you that. You know what what I'm saying? You just have like fighting styles, regional fighting styles, national fighting styles versus each other, and that's how we're gonna get things done. You know what I mean? Imagine like people landing on like the shores of Normandy. You know what I'm saying? Just
Ooh. Oh my god.
right. So I'm saying like imagine the White House, right? No guns. So anybody who want to just go up in there and fight their way through the Secret Service can do that. I'm trying to live in that America. Where it's like if you want to, if you spend enough time figuring out the layout of the White House and how many niggas it's gonna take for you and all of them to stand up in the White House and just to have a conversation with the president. Feds, what's up?
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
Yo, I'm gonna tell y'all what. The people don't. The difference. No, I'm actually not gonna say that. That's gonna make my bandmates mad. I'm gonna just keep that to myself. I'm gonna just show that in my actions, and y'all will see. But I'm gonna just say, like, look, y'all just saw on Twitter, right? How quick they about to kill y'all. It's a thin line, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Life is short. Tell the truth.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Pierce and Ray, for being on the show. I have a new Soul Glow song that we can end with. But don't forget, I just want to give a little plug that you've been watching Grimier Wednesdays. We're raising money for Virginia Anti-Violence Project that does a lot of great work in Virginia for the LGBTQ plus community, specifically with people of color. So they do a lot of great work. And so if you are able to become a recurring donor, that would mean a lot. I have in the side the names of places that Ray has directed us to, a couple of the places that Pierce has directed us to, and a little bit more information about other things. I'm gonna play the song, but do either of you have any like closing remarks or anything to add?
Just take care of each other. Look out for each other. Check in on each other. Yeah, we all we got. We all we need.
I gave my advice already at the end of my little thing. I'm gonna just say about this song. This is not on our next shit coming up. This is gonna be on our album. I'm not telling y'all the name yet. I don't think I'm supposed to, so I'm not going to. Like, this is a very rough version of the song, you know what I'm saying? It's called Rolling Loud, Hear My Cry. I wanted to play this for y'all because I knew it's gonna be the real ones in here, you know what I'm saying?
You just said you weren't gonna tell us what it was called.
What?
You just said you weren't gonna tell us what it was called.
No, I'm not gonna tell y'all what the album is called.
Okay.
Sorry
All right.
for not making that clear. Yeah. No, the album, but the song is called Rolling Loud, Hear My Cry.
I'm ready.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for letting me play this on here. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you both so much for sharing so much of your lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yo, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. This is
Thank
great.
you to everyone who's here. I put the names of things, but I'll put that on the other social media as well. I'm gonna close out and say this is Grimier Wednesdays. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to donate.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.